Blood hit the stone floor before the scream could leave her throat. Vaerith staggered, her fingers clutching her stomach as another wave of pain tore through her body. The world blurred, voices rose around her, sharp and accusing, echoing across the council hall like blades scraping bone. "Look at her!" She failed. "The Luna has lost the heir." Her knees buckled. "No." Her voice came out broken, barely a whisper. "No, that's not—" A cold sound cut through the chaos. A single slow clap. Vaerith's breath froze. She didn't need to look up to know who stood there. The air itself shifted when he entered, heavy, commanding, suffocating. Alpha Kaelrion Virex, her mate, her king, her ruin. Bootsteps echoed across the hall, measured and merciless until they stopped right in front of her. She forced her trembling gaze upward. His eyes held no warmth, no concern, no grief, only disappointment. "You lost my heir." The words landed harder than the pain tearing through her body. Vaerith shook her head weakly, tears spilling freely now. "Kelrian, please, something feels wrong. I can still—" "Enough!" The single word silenced her. His lip curled faintly, as though her suffering bored him. "I trusted you with the future of my bloodline," he continued, voice calm, almost detached. "And you couldn't even protect that." Her chest tightened. I tried." "Trying," he cut in, "does not matter." A murmur of agreement rippled through the elders. Vaerith's heart cracked further. She reached for him, fingers shaking. "Please, just listen to me. I can still feel—" Kelrian stepped back, away from her touch, like she was nothing, like she was beneath him. The rejection struck deeper than any wound. "You are no longer of use to me," he said flatly. The words echoed in her skull. "No longer of use." Her breath hitched violently. "You don't mean that." But his silence answered everything. "I will not keep a Luna who cannot give me an heir," he added, his tone final. "From this moment forward, you are stripped of your title." Gasps filled the hall. Vaerith stared at him, her world collapsing piece by piece. "You're casting me aside. Now? When you've already failed." The finality in his voice shattered something inside her. Her hand dropped slowly from the air. Something warm slid down her thigh. Blood. The room spun. "No," she whispered, panic rising. "No, please, please, not like this." But no one moved to help her. Not the elders, not the guards, not even him. Kelrian turned away as though she no longer existed. "Take her away," he ordered. Strong hands grabbed her arms, dragging her across the cold floor. Her nails scraped against the stone as she struggled weakly. "Kelrian," she cried, her voice cracking. "Please, just look at me." He didn't turn. Not once, and in that moment something inside Vaerith broke completely. Darkness swallowed her, time blurred into nothing, pain faded into a distant ache, and then, a faint, fragile flutter, Vaerith's eyes snapped open. She was alone, a dim chamber, cold, silent. Her breathing came in sharp gasps as her hands flew to her stomach. There, again, a movement, small, weak, but real. Her heart stuttered violently. "No," she whispered, tears flooding her vision again, but this time, not from despair, from shock, from disbelief, from hope. It's still there." Her fingers pressed gently against her abdomen, as though afraid the truth might vanish if she touched too hard. Another flutter answered her. Alive. Her child was alive. A broken laugh escaped her lips, quickly turning into a sob. "You survived." Relief surged through her, but it didn't last, because reality crashed back just as quickly. If Kelrian found out. Her breath caught. He wouldn't see a child. He would see power, an heir, a possession, and she would be nothing more than the vessel he had already discarded. Her hands curled protectively over her stomach. "No," she whispered fiercely. "I won't let him take you." For the first time since the pain began, something new ignited inside her. Not grief, not love, but resolve. Night fell like a curtain of shadows. Vaerith moved silently through the corridors she once ruled, her cloak drawn tightly around her weakened body. Every step sent a dull ache through her limbs, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. Not now. Not when everything depended on this. Her breath came shallow as she reached the outer gates. Guards stood nearby, distracted, unaware. Good. She lowered her gaze, masking her scent as best as she could. One step, then another, closer, almost. "Stop!" Her heart slammed against her ribs. Vaerith froze. A guard stepped forward, suspicion narrowing his eyes. "Where do you think you're going?" Her mind raced. Think. "I was ordered to be moved," she said quietly, keeping her voice steady. "The Alpha no longer wishes me inside the main quarters." The guard hesitated. Of course he would. No one questioned Kelrian's cruelty. Not when it benefited them. "Go," he muttered finally, stepping aside. Vaerith didn't wait. She walked. Slowly at first, then faster. And the moment she crossed the boundary, she ran. Branches tore at her skin as she stumbled through the forest, her breath ragged, her body screaming in protest. "Keep going," she whispered to herself. "Just keep going." Behind her, the pack she once called home faded into the distance. Ahead, only darkness, only danger, but freedom. A sharp pain shot through her side, forcing her to collapse against a tree. Her vision swam violently. "I can't," she gasped. Another wave of weakness hit. Her body was breaking, but she pressed a trembling hand to her stomach. "I won't die," she whispered fiercely. "Do you hear me? I won't let us die." The wind howled through the trees. And for a moment, it almost felt like something answered. Far behind her, in the towering halls of Vaerith's keep, Kelrian stood still, his hand clenched at his side. A strange, unsettling sensation twisted in his chest. Faint, but undeniable, like something slipping away. His eyes darkened. "Find her," he ordered coldly. The command echoed like a death sentence. Search every inch of the territory. Because for the first time, the Alpha felt it. Something was wrong. And somewhere in the darkness, Vaerith ran with a secret powerful enough to destroy him. The forest did not welcome the weak. It swallowed them. Vaerith stumbled forward, her legs trembling violently beneath her as the cold bit into her skin. Every breath burned. Every step felt like it might be her last. But she didn't stop. "I won't fall," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Not now. Not when you're still fighting." Her hand pressed against her stomach again. There, faint, fragile, but alive. That small, stubborn heartbeat was the only thing keeping her moving. Branches lashed against her face, thorns tore at her cloak, blood mixed with sweat as her strength drained away piece by piece. The night stretched endlessly. And then, a crack. Vaerith froze. Her breath hitched. Not the wind, not the trees. Footsteps. Too heavy, too deliberate. Her heart slammed. "They found me!" Panic surged through her veins. She turned sharply, so forcing her legs to move faster, ignoring the pain screaming through her body. "Run!" she gasped. "Run!" But the forest betrayed her. Her foot caught against a root, and she crashed hard onto the ground. Pain exploded through her side. Her vision blurred. "No!" she choked, trying to push herself up. "No, not like this." The footsteps grew closer, closer. A shadow loomed. Vaerith's body went still. This was it. She tightened her arms protectively around her stomach, curling slightly despite the agony. "If it ends," she whispered weakly, "it ends with me protecting you." The shadow stepped forward, and then, "Easy." The voice was unfamiliar, low, controlled, not hostile. Vaerith's eyes snapped open. A tall figure stood before her, cloaked in dark fabric, his presence steady, not aggressive, but powerful. Not Vaerith's, not Kelrian's men. Her body sagged slightly in relief, then tensed again. Danger came in many forms. "Who are you?" she rasped. The man studied her carefully, his gaze sharp, calculating. "You're far from any safe territory," he replied instead, "and bleeding." "I asked who you are," she insisted, her voice trembling but stubborn. A pause, then, "Draven Thalmir." The name struck something faint in her memory. Not an enemy, but not someone to trust blindly either. "What do you want?" she demanded. His gaze flickered briefly to her stomach, then back to her face. To understand why someone carrying life would run toward death. Her breath caught. He knew. Instinctively, her arms tightened around herself. "You're mistaken." "No," Draven said calmly. "I'm not." Silence stretched between them. Vaerith's mind raced. If he knew, he could expose her. Or worse. Her voice dropped, fragile but firm. "If you're going to turn me in, do it quickly." Something shifted in his expression. Not pity, something sharper. "I don't serve Kelrian Vaerith," he said. The name felt like a blade slicing through the air. Vaerith flinched despite herself. Draven noticed. His gaze darkened slightly. "He did this to you." It wasn't a question. Vaerith swallowed hard. "He rejected me." "And the child?" Her silence answered everything. A long pause followed. Then Draven stepped back, extending a hand. "Get up." Vaerith stared at him, wary. "Why?" "Because if you stay here," he said evenly, "you and your child will die before sunrise." Her chest tightened. She didn't want to trust him. She couldn't afford to trust anyone, but she also knew. He wasn't wrong. Slowly, painfully, she reached for his hand. The journey to his territory felt like walking through a dream she couldn't wake from. Vaerith drifted in and out of consciousness, her body barely holding together as Draven led her through hidden paths deep within the forest. When they finally stopped, dawn had begun to break across the horizon. A settlement emerged from the shadows, stronger, quieter, different, not like Vaerith's. Vaerith barely registered the curious stares as Draven carried her the final distance. "Don't let her die," he ordered sharply as they entered a large structure. Hands reached for her, voices blurred. "Severe blood loss. She's pregnant. Stabilize her, now!" Darkness claimed her again. When Vaerith woke, the pain was still there, but it was quieter, controlled. She blinked slowly, her gaze adjusting to the soft light filtering into the room. Different. Safe, for now. Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach. A pause, then a strong, steady flutter. Tears slipped silently down her temples. "You're still here," she whispered. "Of course it is." Vaerith turned sharply. Draven stood near the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with that same unreadable expression. Relief flickered through her, but she masked it quickly. "You shouldn't move too much," he continued. "You almost died." She pushed herself up slightly despite his warning. "Why did you help me?" "Because I don't tolerate cruelty disguised as power," he replied. Her jaw tightened. "That wasn't your concern." "No," Draven agreed, "but now it is." Silence settled between them again. Vaerith studied him carefully. "What do you want in return?" A faint smirk touched his lips. "Straight to negotiation," he murmured. "You were a Luna, weren't you?" "Answer the question." Draven's gaze sharpened. "I want nothing from you," he said. "Not yet." Her eyes narrowed. "Not yet." "You're weak," he said bluntly. "Broken. Running." His words stung, but she didn't deny them. "But that won't last," he added quietly. Something in his tone made her pause. "You don't know me," she said. "No," Draven replied, "but I know what it takes to survive what you've been through." Their gazes locked. And for a brief moment, something unspoken passed between them. Understanding. Days turned into weeks. Vaerith didn't trust easily. She kept her distance, spoke little, watched everything. But she stayed, because she had no choice. And because, slowly, painfully, she began to heal. Her strength returned in fragments, her body recovered. And her mind changed. She trained in silence, fought through weakness, refused to remain what Kelrian had reduced her to. "You're pushing too hard," Draven said one evening as he watched her spar. "I'm not pushing hard enough," Vaerith shot back, wiping sweat from her brow. "You're still recovering." "I don't have the luxury of time." Her voice was sharp, driven, different. Draven studied her for a long moment. "You're not running anymore." Vaerith stilled. "No," she said quietly. "I'm not." Something darker flickered in her eyes. "I'm preparing." Far away, within the cold walls of Virek's keep, Kelrion's patience had run out. "Nothing?" His voice echoed dangerously through the hall. The guard knelt, trembling. "We searched every border, Alpha. There's no trace." A crack of power split the air. The guard was thrown violently across the room. "Useless. Are all of them?" Kelrian's chest tightened again, that same strange, gnawing sensation that refused to fade. Something was missing, something important, and it was getting farther away. His jaw clenched. "She didn't just disappear," he said coldly. "She was taken. Or she's hiding." His gaze darkened. "Either way, I will find her." Because deep down, he could feel it. This wasn't over. Not even close. Back in the quiet strength of Thalmir territory, Vaerith stood under the open sky, her hand resting over her growing stomach. The wind moved gently around her. For the first time, she didn't feel weak. She didn't feel broken. She felt alive. "You're changing," Draven said from behind her. Vaerith didn't turn. "I have to. For the child. For myself." A pause. Then she added softly, "And for what comes next." Because somewhere in the depths of her soul, a truth had taken root. She hadn't just survived. She was becoming something else, something stronger, something Kelrian would never expect. And when the time came, she wouldn't run. Time did not heal Vaerith. It sharpened her. Seasons turned, and the fragile woman who once bled on cold stone faded into memory. In her place stood something unrecognizable, something forged in silence, in pain, in relentless resolve. The night her child was born, the sky itself seemed to hold its breath. Vaerith knelt on the stone floor, her body trembling as waves of agony tore through her. Sweat clung to her skin, her breath ragged, her fingers digging into the ground as she fought to stay conscious. "Stay with me," Draven's voice cut through the chaos, steady and commanding. "Vaerith, look at me." Her vision swam, but she forced her gaze up. "I won't break," she gasped. "You won't," he replied firmly. "You've survived worse than this." A broken laugh escaped her. "Have I—" Another contraction hit, stealing the rest of her breath. Then, silence, a sharp, unnatural stillness. The air shifted. Vaerith's eyes widened. "Do you feel that?" she whispered. Draven stilled. "Yes." Something ancient moved in the air, something powerful, heavy, undeniable. And then the child cried. The sound echoed, not weak, but strong, commanding, alive. Vaerith collapsed back, tears spilling freely as the healer placed the newborn in her arms. The moment her fingers touched the child, a pulse of energy rippled outward. Draven stepped back instinctively, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't normal," he murmured. Vaerith looked down at the child, her heart trembling. The baby's eyes opened, not the soft, unfocused gaze of a newborn, but sharp, aware, and glowing faintly with a silver-gold light. Her breath caught. "You're different," she whispered. The child's tiny hand curled around her finger, and in that moment, Vaerith knew this child was not just an heir, this child was destiny. Years passed. The world did not wait, and neither did Vaerith. She rose, not loudly, not with war cries or declarations, but in silence, in strength, in undeniable presence. The people of Thalmir began to look at her differently, not as a refugee, not as a broken Luna, but as something more, something powerful. Her child, Aaron, grew quickly, his abilities impossible to ignore, strength beyond his age, instincts sharper than seasoned warriors, and that same glowing gaze that unsettled even the strongest among them. "He's not ordinary," one elder whispered. "No," Draven replied quietly, watching the boy train. "He's not." Vaerith stood at the edge of the field, her arms crossed as she observed. Aaron moved with precision, his small form swift and controlled as he struck against a training dummy with surprising force. "Again!" she called. Aaron didn't hesitate. He attacked again, faster this time, stronger. A faint smile touched Vaerith's lips, but it didn't reach her eyes, because she knew this peace wouldn't last forever. Far across the territories, Kelrian Virex had become a shadow of the Alpha he once was. Stronger, yes, more ruthless, but unstable. His rule had hardened into something cold and unforgiving, his patience replaced by obsession. "Still nothing?" His voice echoed darkly. "No trace, Alpha," his scout replied cautiously. Kelrian's hand tightened into a fist. Years, and still nothing. But the feeling never left him. That pull, that absence, it haunted him. "I don't care how long it takes," he said quietly, dangerously. "You will find her." Because deep down, he knew. Vaerith wasn't gone. She was waiting. The day everything changed came without warning. Aaron stood still, too still. Vaerith noticed immediately. "What is it?" she asked, stepping closer. The boy's glowing eyes shifted, distant, focused on something far beyond what they could see. "He's close," Aaron said softly. Vaerith's entire body went rigid. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Who?" she demanded, though she already knew. Aaron looked at her. "The one you ran from." Silence fell. Heavy. Unavoidable. Draven stepped forward, his expression dark. "How far?" Aaron tilted his head slightly. "Not far enough." Vaerith exhaled slowly. Then, she straightened. For years, she had prepared for this moment. For years, she had built herself into something stronger. And now, it was here. "I'm not running," she said firmly. Draven's gaze searched hers. "You don't have to face him." "Yes," she replied quietly, "I do." Because this time, she wasn't the one being hunted. The moment Kelrian saw her, the world stopped. Vaerith stood before him, untouched by the years in all the ways that mattered, but changed in every way that didn't. Stronger, colder, unbreakable. His breath caught. "Vaerith." Her name left his lips like something sacred, something lost. She didn't react, didn't move, didn't soften. "Why?" he demanded, stepping closer. "Why did you run?" A sharp, quiet laugh escaped her. "Run?" she repeated. Her gaze met his, and for the first time, he saw it. Not pain, not love, but something far more dangerous. "You rejected me," she said calmly. "You cast me aside like I was nothing." His jaw tightened. "You lost my heir." "No!" The word cut through him. Final. Absolute. Kelrian froze. Vaerith stepped aside, and Aaron stepped forward. The moment Kelrian felt it, everything shattered. The bond, the truth, the realization. His breath hitched violently. No. His gaze locked onto the child. Silver gold eyes stared back at him, unflinching, powerful, alive. "My heir," he whispered. Vaerith's voice was cold as steel. "The heir you thought I lost." Silence crushed the space between them. Kelrian dropped to his knees. The weight of it, her pain, his mistake, everything, crashing down at once. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. "Vaerith, I didn't know." "You didn't care to know," she corrected. Her words hit harder than any blow. "I can fix this," he said quickly, desperation bleeding through his voice. "Come back, both of you, take your place." "No." Again. Final. Unshakable. "You don't get to decide my place anymore," Vaerith said. Kelrian looked up at her, something breaking in his eyes. "I was wrong." "Yes," she said simply. Silence stretched. Then she stepped closer, close enough that he could feel her presence, but not close enough to touch. "You rejected my pain," she said quietly. Her voice didn't rise, didn't tremble, but it carried more power than anything he had ever heard. "So I rewrote your destiny." A pause. Her gaze held his, cold, certain. "Without you." Kelrian's breath shattered, because in that moment, he understood. He hadn't just lost her. He had lost everything. Vaerith turned away. No hesitation. No regret. Aaron followed her without question. And Draven watched in silence as the most powerful alpha in the territories remained on his knees, broken, alone, and for the first time in his life, powerless. The wind moved gently as Vaerith walked forward, her child at her side, not running, not hiding, but choosing herself, choosing her future, choosing a destiny no one would ever control again. And this time, she didn't look back.